Let's bring in Barry Choi, our travel expert, for more on this. Barry, thanks for joining us.
Good morning. Good to see you, old friend.
Can we afford to travel this year? Doesn't sound like there's any good news in any of that.
It does feel like a luxury these days, without a doubt. If anyone who's looked at travel costs over the last couple of years, definitely things have gone up. Like you mentioned, flights, hotels, car rentals. But I think it's one of those things where if you know that the costs have gone up and you budget for it accordingly and you start to do a little bit more research, there are still ways to save on travel, but it just requires so much more work, which isn't ideal, but that's just the game we play these days.
What are some of the things you can do to try and kind of offset these costs?
So I would say the big thing right off the top is plan as far ahead in advance as possible. That usually is really good for airfare. There's a big misconception that if you book last minute that you'll save a ton of money. That's no longer the case. Same thing applies to hotels. What I like to do is book a fully refundable hotel as soon as I have my dates locked in. So this way I have something set in stone. But then occasionally I'll check back once every 2 weeks, once a month to see if there's a better price available. Then I'll rebook if there's a better deal to be had. So it really comes down to what you're willing to do.
And is there anything you have to look for when you're booking in advance so you don't end up caught with that hotel room no matter what?
Well, it definitely comes down to the hotel refund policy more than anything else. But now that we've got this airline on the screen, I will say that one thing that may have caught people off guard, especially in the last year, as airlines have changed their rules with baggage, is baggage fees. We know a lot of the airlines now with basic fares, they no longer allow a carry-on luggage. But you can pay for checked baggage. But what's funny is a lot of people don't realize is there's a couple of credit cards out there that give you your free checked bag or your first checked bag for free, or there's rebates. Tangerine just announced that clients who pay with their credit or debit card and spend at least $39.55, this is clearly aimed at luggage fees, will get a rebate of $40 right back to their card payment. So that's a limited time offer for the first 7,500 people. But also, in addition, Aeroplan and WestJet, they have the credit cards that offer free checked bags, but those have a fee. So it's a really interesting time to see that Tangerine's offering this. It's a play on words, obviously. Free check-in, they have free checking accounts. I love this. But, I think it's a really interesting time because I think a lot of hotels, airlines are going to become creative with their offers.
Okay, and for people heading the UK and Europe, there's some changes there you got to be aware of.
This actually caught me off guard because I'm planning a trip to Europe this summer. As of January 8th, if Canadians traveling to the UK require an ETA form, it's kind of like a visa. They don't call it a visa. Canada introduced something similar. It is kind of for security reasons, what they call it. But the most important thing for Canadians to know is that it must be filled out in advance. There is a £10 fee, so it's just roughly $17 Canadian, and you need to fill it out in advance because sometimes it takes a few hours, even though technically it could be instant. You don't want to be caught at the airport where you go to check in and realize you don't have the forms. And that's just for the UK. If you're traveling to other parts of Europe also, same thing applies. There's the ETIAS, similar thing, similar to Visa for the Schengen area. 30 countries. That one's only about €7, so about $10 Canadian. But the good thing is the UK one lasts 2 years. The European Union one lasts 3 years. So you apply for it once, you're good for a couple of years, but it is an additional cost. And like I said, more importantly, make sure you get it in advance. You could be not denied boarding if you do not have it.
Okay, Barry, thank you for your advice as always.
No problem, anytime.